note, let's just talk about education a little more from McKinsey's point of view. I know there is a insight published by McKinsey, which we are going to discuss as a part of this call to start off. So why don't you tell us about this particular, the findings, and sort of what was your way, like what did you analyze, what were your interpretations, and sort of we can then have hopefully a good conversation where me and Rupam would be able to ask some intelligent questions.
Yeah, sure. I hope I would be able to answer those questions. Oh, yeah, but yeah, to begin with, yeah. So one of the articles which we are probably going to discuss today is like on the K-12 schooling system and the impact of COVID, and like how the education system has changed because the schools had to shut down, everything went remote, all the education was online. So, and what kind of changes the system has to make, and uh, how uh, how it could be leveraged for the benefit of an equitable education going in the forward, and what changes the schooling system can take to further grow and expand it, and probably tailor it to the current needs of the society. I mean, as most of us have experienced in the last 10 years, the world has probably changed a lot with the technology. Like, it's no longer the same, the connectivity, the digitalization, and which also calls for like what kind of meaningful changes can be brought to the education system while keeping the core tenets the same. So one of the key, so the two key insights which I think was that came out from the article was that the core tenets of basic literacy is not going anywhere. The initial education system has to be based on like the core tenets of basic literacy. You need to be able to read well, write well, have good mathematical sense. Or like these are the three basic things which a schooling system should aspire to endow the student at an early age before they grow their other skill sets and the creativity based on the skill sets and the leanings they would have going into the future. And second, teachers are important. I mean, it's no, it's not a rocket science to know that the teachers are important. A teacher can have a massive impact. Like for me, it has had massive impacts in my life, and so uh, I'm very grateful to most of my teachers who have been an instrumental part of me while I was trying to educate myself at any point of time. And so the teachers are important, but how do you train those teachers well? How you make those teachers are also something which this article discusses, and we might want to go into the deeper details. But one thing which I think was important, and I have always thought by myself as well, is that we need to convert teachers into leaders. Like we need to enable them so that they start viewing themselves as the leaders of the society who are changing and impacting the students' life, and also have good teachers who train new teachers and have like a systematic way where you are where there is no dearth of quality teachers. Like how we have constructed the corporate ladder, is there a way you can also create something in the academic setup as well?
So one of the important questions, if I know, in this article, one thing is being discussed is how to use or leverage technology to achieve this. So, and I think that question sort of becomes a little more relevant and sort of comes to forefront in this day and age of COVID, where schooling entirely has gone digital as of right now. And so, how do you think, or how do you perceive that going forward, how the technology is going to impact, particularly education sector?
Yeah. So the way I think so, uh, for sure, the technology is going to probably allow more people to get exposed and will probably allow the system to be more equitable. But the other question is that uh, what kind of content are you going to provide with the technology, and how homogeneous that content is going to be, and also like the accessibility of the content, and something which this article discusses as well, and it would also depend from a country to country as well as from a or even like from a state to state basis, because not all the places have an equitable infrastructure. Not all the places have same amount of internet speed. Are you going to have them pre-recorded lectures, or are you going to do a live stream of all the things? Like, how do you create a system tailored to the specific need of that location, leveraging the technology? Like maybe a pre-recorded tablet, which can be shared by 10 people in a country which does not have a lot of resources, might be a better way than actually trying to go for live streaming or content. So I think that is one thing which is going to be important in trying to figure out the policies which you're going to create in trying to use it. And also the other important portion is like, how are you going to tackle this hybrid culture of teaching in person as well as going digital and having that recorded content? Because on the flip side, you can also see that why it, wouldn't it become a bit difficult for the teacher to have an attention from the student, and the student already knows that he can go and access that thing back home. So those are also the things which you need to be a bit creative about, that how are you going to make use of that hybrid system. Another drawback which you can is like, okay, let's assume that you allow people to stay home and study. Let's go back to India where the houses are small and cramped. How are you going to get enough space where the student can have a secluded time and actually be focused in trying to grab all the knowledge that has been thrown at him? So, and also like the rigor, how are you going to ensure the rigor in a hybrid system? How are you going to change the metrics at which the tests are being conducted? So all those things are the minute details which we need to work out, and like have we need to visualize the risk that it might have, and also try to come up with next steps and to how to mitigate those risks. Not saying that technology is not good; it's going to be transformative, and this is the way I think the world is going to move forward. But I think like we need to work through the nuts and bolts of the system a bit more, and personalize to the needs of the place.
Right. So,
for example, in anecdote, like before the COVID happened, I started a business back in December in India, where we used to rent space for people to come and study on an hourly basis. I mean, of course, with COVID, we have to close it down. But can we visualize that kind of a business model where people just come there for 4 hours and have a table and a chair because they do not have enough space back home, or do not have a quiet space back home? So I think like those are some interesting avenues of new business development as well, which can happen.
Okay, interesting. The other aspect, if I'm not mistaken, the article talks about there are 2 points that I feel like sort of overlap with each other. One is they talk about something you touched upon in the very beginning, the mastery-based learning, like acquiring the core competencies, and then basically acquiring competencies, let's say, which are more suitable for what kind of work are they going to do in future.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can see how those both points overlap. Where I see issue with is how people, how to basically match the two together and hopefully have a comprehensive system which allows you the mastery of the subject, but then at the same time makes you ready for that future job. I mean, you're somebody who comes from a heavy math education background. And so for something like that, how do you visualize that happening?
Yeah, I think like the word here I would want to use is the agile practices, which has become pretty common in the business world. I think like that's something which we probably need to implement in our system as well. We probably have to do a constant A/B testing with our upcoming generation to see what they like, what kind of a skill set they might be interested in, so they are better suited. One problem which I see in here, which I do see in here, is that I don't want people to play on the fear, so that you don't want to overwhelm the person, and that you ask him to like do 4 coaching classes or like whatever. Like you just keep piling up the pressure. So you need to be fast enough to expose the person to something, and then if the person does not like it, or if you are able to understand what is the strengths of the person, then you take a lot of it away, and then slowly narrow the focus of the person, while not closing all the avenues, but certainly giving him enough opportunity, but not overwhelming the student or this. Yeah. So I think like, yeah, so probably bringing agile practices into the schooling system as well would be something which helps. And also, uh, rather than specific skill sets, I think when this article also talks about it, like uh, we should go beyond the idea of literacy and skill set training in the education and make it a more of value-based education system, where you're also taught about grit, self-control, optimism, your role in society building, which are greater assets which would allow you to tackle challenges in the future as well. Even if the landscape of the world changes and the area of your expertise uh, probably it starts becoming irrelevant and you have to retrain and reinvent.
I see. Wonderful. So just to make this a little bit more, that can be used for by our viewers. So how can this article or whatever insights you suggested, how can this be used for cases that they might face in an interview? Let's say, can they use in like your client wants to open up a new school or your client wants to restructure something?
Just yeah, I think like that's it. So I think like uh, it can be used with all the discussion which we just did. So let's assume that this was the case prompt. Then you could have just two big buckets in here. One, you have the skill sets, which is like the core competency and literacy, like basically the education of what is gonna be you are gonna get. And then basically the other bucket would be teachers, like so the people who are gonna provide you the education. That becomes your first two buckets. And then
Definitely.
in the first bucket, then you talk about okay, you need to first focus on the basic literacy that and make sure that all the students at an early age are able to grasp good communication skills and mathematics skills. And then later down, you are going to create a system uh, where the student would be provided with different opportunities to explore, and then there will be a metric system which would allow the student to understand his skill set and going and then yeah, so I think like those could be like buckets and ideas in there. And then also when you come on the provider side, then you talk about the role of the teachers, the role of the technology, uh, uh, yeah, the role of the society, or like where the exact
administrators and all those people here.
And then in the role of teachers, you talk about uh, like what are the specific skill set each teacher should have. How are you going to train each teachers to get that skill set? In the technology, we talk about that. What kind of technology are you going to use? How much live streaming are you going to use? How much recording are you going to use? How are you going to rate the performances of this setup to actually make sure that it is achieving the success metric it should achieve? And if not, how you're going to go back and make or tweak things in the system itself. And so I think like if you are able to talk about all these things in this specific kind of a structure, I think you should be good to go. So I think like basically covered a lot of things which you basically should have in your structure.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Animesh, for this insights, because as you know that education cases are very popular, especially in the second round, because they are they do not involve, profitability or something, but focus on the societal aspect. And especially from McKinsey's interview, they are very popular in the second round with partners. So thank you, Animesh, for your key insights there.